You're listening to the Turnaround Podcast, the true life basketball story of Bull City's own Stewart Squirt Holley.
Yo, man, this beat crazy.
I've never spent a lot of time away from the game or the sport, no matter what. From all of those situations, basketball was still there. There could have been basketball court on the premises, so whenever I step out there on that basketball court, at whatever time in life it was for me, that my God-given, not just passion, but abilities manifested themselves. So when I was in the youth facilities, that was probably like 1990. I was still about 15 because they don't put you in the jails until you're like over 16. I was in and out of the juvenile system a little bit. So anything after 91, 92, caught charges and going to the 7th floor. It was kind of like I graduated from the juvie detention center to the jailhouse where big boys go. And eventually, it was around 96 when I eventually got finished and went off to prison. This was around 96 and processed at Polk Youth Facility, which at that time was located in Raleigh, and stayed at Polk, for a few months. And one thing stood out to me was guy in jail was like, you finna go to prison. He said, that's a little different than jail. So get yourself prepared, young buck. That's what he told me. Get yourself prepared, young buck. You headed off to prison. It's a little different than being in here, which was the jail, the county jail. I'll say this real quick. It can be a scary thing. I remember them when I was leaving the county jail. They came and got me about 4 o'clock in the morning. They called me over the little intercom in the jail. Holley, pack your bag. Hop up. Come to find out it's about 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. They take you, dress you out, put you on this van, take you to the rendezvous spot, which is a prison, and your ankles are shackled. Your wrists are handcuffed to your waist. And I remember once we hadn't gotten to the prison, they dressed us out, put us on the bus, and you had this little white little bag with all your little belongings that you had from the jailhouse. Your clothes get sent back home. And so we rode all day before me and whoever else finally arrived at our spot, which was, again, Polk Youth Center. And like I said, it can be a scary thing. Like, I've never been in prison before at that moment in time. Hope I never go again. God forbid that. But my very first experience was when they let us off that bus. So we started traveling about 5 o'clock in the morning. So it was fast forward to about almost 4 o'clock that afternoon was when I arrived at my prison camp. So anyway, I remember we getting off the bus. It was only about 3 of us. So I was the first inmate off the bus, and the other 2 inmates were walking behind me. The COs, they were walking us where we supposed to go to. And I don't know what it was about these inmates, but I guess they was just trying to intimidate us, intimidate me and everybody else. And being that I was in front of the other 2 guys, I remember an inmate literally spitting right in front of me. He took a real nice, gob at that, and your ass mine tonight, boy. And we looked each other eye to eye, and I was like, wow, so this what prison is about? I was like, oh, okay. I didn't say anything to him, but I looked at him. I knew what he looked like, and I'll never forget that. So from the start, from the moment that we got on that prison camp, everything about it is you're in danger. That's what that told me. Everywhere you turn, every little second that you're there, you are in danger. You don't have close ones to protect you, or you're not in a place where you're loved. You're not in a place where you're cared about. You're just a number. And you'd better know how to handle yourself. You'd better know how to protect yourself. You'd better know how to watch, observe, listen. You know what I'm saying? And if not, you're not going to survive that experience just because of the people that's there. The inmates are definitely not going to care about you. the correctional officers, not all of them are bad. Some of them actually care, but they work in an environment that's pretty much a negative environment. A lot of them don't care about you. So you are on your own. When I got to Polk, I really didn't play basketball too much, and they had a basketball yard, but I didn't really play. I just think maybe because I was still in shock and I was trying to figure this prison thing out in jail. And when they had, back then, it was called the 7th floor. That's probably one time in my life where basketball was not there, because you're locked inside these jails and they didn't have an outside you could go to until they built the new county jail, and you had like a half court set in there. I remember getting into a situation. It didn't escalate for the worst, but this was around about 96 in the Durham County jail. So we was playing, and by far I was the best guy in the pod. So talking about 50 inmates to each dorm, maybe 60 inmates to each dorm. And by far I was the best player in there, by far. So this one particular situation, we had like point game. I goes up, dunks the ball over this guy, big dude too. I dunked on him so hard that the other inmates who was actually inside the dorm and not on like on the basketball area, it sounded like thunder. They all ran to the window to see what in the fuck went down. And the detention officers even focused their attention to the basketball court because I dunked on him so hard, and everybody that saw it just lost their damn mind. So he was super embarrassed, kind of like how I was when I first got dunked on back in high school. And so I just remember him talking shit, saying, he can't do it again, he won't do it again. I was lucky he won't do it again. So that particular dunk was the point game. We was just 1 point from a win. So it was make it, take the ball out. I got the ball. Everybody kind of spread it out a little bit. And I remember giving him like the jab step, and he bit. And it just happened again. I got in the paint, went up, dunked it probably even harder. And that was the end of the game. Do you know this guy tried to fight me because of that? I guess because he was so embarrassed. That was the only way he can get his face back. So I told the inmates, I said, let him go. I'm not sure my hands too. So they let him go. And he just woof. And I was just like, that's game. Yeah, looking back on the thing that stands out when I finally got sent to prison, I had a reputation in Durham County Jail, especially in the pod that I was in. It's like my basketball skills had followed me, and I was still developing at that time. And I didn't realize it at that time that I was also evolving as a ball player. In jail, prison is different. There are no coaches. There are no referees. There are no parents to break up any arguments, disagreements, or fight. And let's be real. Anytime that a person is incarcerated in jail or prison, there's a negative environment, period, point blank. Fights happen. Rapes happen. Murders happen. Stabbings happen. And, I got into that little altercation, but it didn't lead to nothing physical because he didn't want that, It wasn't like I was some little small dude either. But the thing about it is, playing in the jails and playing in prisons, that's exactly where I learned how to be not just aggressive, but physical. You take the contact and you play, not like how these guys nowadays, you touch them, you might as well get the Charmin and the Kleenex out. A lot of Nerf motherfuckers, if you ask me. These guys are Nerfs. They soft like Nerf. Can't touch them. They're just so pretty. And playing in the jails and playing in the prisons was just the total opposite of that. The environment was hard. The environment was harsh. So when I stepped out there and played, I was hard. I was harsh. And it followed me. Eventually, when I did get to prisons and got my Senate, that's how I made my living on state. So that's how I got a lot of my canteen. Kept out on the basketball court, and I would beat guys 1-on-1, or whenever we play 5-on-5, I put my canteen up on the team that I was playing, and we won. I get not just my canteen back, but extras from who betted against me, which turned out to be the wrong choice for them. Then it seemed like certain other inmates followed. And actually, the first time I felt confident and like I had something special was sitting in prison. And that's a sad thing to say. I'm sitting in prison, and I got inmates calling me baby, BC. You know what I'm saying? Baby Vince Carter. And I was like, really? That's all they kept saying. And for them to put weeks or months worth of canteen up, that's money in there back at that time, right? Because you don't get physical money in your hand. So for them to put their canteen up, for them to put their money up, months worth, weeks worth, that spoke in high volume. You know what I'm saying? And coming out of that situation, it carried on. And I guess that's probably another story in itself, but it carried on. I had to start working for the city of Durham, and they had this talking trash tournament held by city employees, could only participate in it, city workers from whatever branch of the city. So played in that, and I actually played the first year with the sanitation department because a guy that's a little older than me grew up in this other neighborhood I lived in. So I played with them, sanitation department. We win. So the word gotten back to my supervisor at the street maintenance department, like, oh, it's a dude that work at the street maintenance facility. Yo, this dude could play some ball. So the word had gotten around, but everybody knew him by my nickname, Squirt. So my supervisor didn't know him by Squirt. He knew him by Stewart. You know? And they called me Holley. So they called me by my last name, a.k.a. Holley Fober. So anyway, I guess my supervisor, he finally called me in the office one day. Holley, yeah, I need to see you in my office. Come on, sit down. I said, yeah, Chuck, you know what's going on? Is your nickname Squirt? I said, yeah, Chuck. You Squirt. I said, yeah, Chuck. That's my nickname. Why, what's up? What's going on? So he was like, the city talking about you, you know, other city employees from other departments. So the supervisor was like, we're going to put the street maintenance team back in the talking trash tournament. They'd been out the tournament for a couple of years because they ain't had nobody play no ball. They decided to put their department back into it, and they wanted me to lead the way. So I was like, let's do it. Put the team in there. And my boy that had brought me on with the sanitation department, he was mad at me. Like, man. So I was like, hey, man, I work for the street maintenance department. So we ended up winning that thing. And that's really the first time where I felt like all of this was before I went international. All this was before I went to Rockingham Community College. You know what I'm saying? All of this was right after I was coming out of prison. You know what I'm saying? A year or two after I was coming out of prison. So this was the first time outside of prison that I've actually felt that my basketball abilities and my basketball gifts was, I guess, appreciated and admired by others, the things that I could do. So it was crazy how my coworkers treated me after that. You would have thought I was an NBA player. You know, my talent was different from anybody else's talent. And it was guys that had played in that talking trash tournament who were also city employees. At that point in time, they hadn't already played 4 years of college basketball, didn't take it nowhere. They had already played at Central University or Shaw University or wherever they played at. They was working at the finance department. They had already competed 4 years on the college level. I was just raw talent who would love the game, but just didn't have no guidance or no knowledge about the business side or none of that. And I made them look like complete idiots out there. And they had little, I guess, reputations for being decent ball players or good ball players because they was playing, and at that time, being that their college career was over, they didn't go pro, so they was playing like in YMCA adult leagues. So they had a little reputations from those in which I later just smashed once I'd gotten involved in it because my talent was just different from theirs. And it's no disrespect to those guys because my talent propelled me to another level, a professional level that they never reached. And I got off to a late start. Again, because coming out of high school, graduating, going to college, I come out of high school, my dumb ass sitting up in somebody's prison. You know what I'm saying? Because I made wrong choice. So if I can help the next young man or the next young lady by doing this body of work, if it can reach the right ears, I would hope that they would take heed to what I'm saying, because it's not a joke and it's not a game. And some people go to prison and because they're not able to defend themselves, they get attacked in the shower. They get attacked in their sleep. That's real. You know, I've seen it done, and I wouldn't want it to happen to me. I've seen it done, and that's not a pretty sight. It's not pretty at all. So I advise any young person out there who will hear this and listen to this, you better start practicing right now, making right decisions. Simply because the wrong decision could cost you your freedom, or the wrong decision could cost you your life. And from the start, that's why I said, let's do this. Let's put this together and let's get it out there, simply because I hope it'll help change someone's life and they won't have to go that route, whether they play a sport or not, just because it's not a place you want to be. And you don't want to embarrass not just yourself, but you don't want to embarrass your mama or your daddy. And I wouldn't say that you're a failure. I wouldn't say that. Some people can dub going to prison as a place for society's failed men or women. I wouldn't say that. Everyone makes mistakes, and it doesn't mean you need to be punished by sent to prison. Some people need help. They don't need prison, they need help. But I was just fortunate to go through that situation and come out of that situation and become a better person from it, because I chose to become a better person and not get out and return to the same things that had got me sent to prison in the first place. So that's what made me focus and chase basketball post-prison. And even though I was invited and tried out for 2 NBA D-League teams and did not make either one of those team rosters, it still doesn't dwindle my faith in my abilities and my talent. I know. And is it something that I regret? No, but it's something that I wish I could have done different, just because I should have played in the NBA, could have played in the NBA, but I didn't, just because of the choices I made and not being in the right environment. That's just that in a nutshell. Wouldn't trade it for the world. God chose me, chose my spirit to embody this 6'3", 214-pound vessel, and I'm just thankful for it. All of those experiences that came along with embodying this vessel as I walk on this earth, all of those difficulties, all of those hardships, all of those sad times, all of those depressed times, I appreciate it all. Everything that makes me imperfect makes me perfect. All of that, getting cut from the middle school team, playing on the church leagues, the youth leagues, because you're not old enough to try out for the school teams yet. So when you get to the age where you're ready, being that I work with kids now today, they're 5th graders. They're getting ready to go into the 6th grade, stuff like that. So they're able to try out now, meeting some kids at the 8th grade. And so I said, okay, you all right, so you playing at your school? And they're like, no. So I'm like, why you not playing at your school? Or they got cut. The first thing I tell them, and I look them in the eye and I tell them, don't let that deter you. And I feel like they feel my energy when I tell them that. Don't let that discourage you or deter you. If you love that game, if you love that sport, keep playing. That's what I did. I just kept playing. Basketball for me outside my mom's, and it's no disrespect to my family members, because my family members, they do love me. But basketball outside of my mom's has just, it's never left me. Basketball has never done me wrong. It's never lied to me. It's never cheated on me. It's never stole from me. It's never broken my heart. You know what I'm saying? Basketball for me, it is my life. And if you take basketball away from me, then you might as well just take my life away from me. That's where I'm at with it.
This has been a Vanguard Podcast Network original. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Turnaround Podcast, and follow the Turnaround Podcast on Instagram by clicking the link in the show notes. If you'd like to book Stewart Holley for a speaking engagement or to be a guest on your show, please reach out to theturnaround77@gmail.com, and someone will get back to you within 48 hours. Thank you for listening.